The woman of my dreams. We first met in Dallas, Texas in March of 2006. I was a 20-something-year-old college sophomore attending a student organization conference in her church. The second I set eyes on her, my heart was struck by how incredibly stunning she looked. She introduced herself as Liz, but I was so mesmerized by her looks and composure, I heard Mary. She had a pair of milky white eyes and spoke with a warm Texas slang and had a rich demeanor to herself. To me, she was a sunrise, sunset, and a solar eclipse all packaged into one person. When I made it back home after the conference, I called Mary to say thank you. But that conversation lasted 8 hours. As a national leader of the organization, I was extra careful of my relationship with females and did everything to keep them respectful without crossing certain emotional lines. But that was not the case with this young woman from Dallas, Texas. Our conversations lasted longer and our interactions became more magical experiences. Before I could rationalize the situation, I was madly in love, and at a point, our love became pathological. Of course, the next natural step would be to marry her. But knowing myself, I knew whoever I married was going to take on an outsized responsibility. Hence, I didn't want to make the decision without hearing from God. I will ask God consistently, Lord, I love her. Is she my wife or not? Lord, can I marry her? Will you go with me? Lord, just give me a sign or a dream about her to assure me she's my wife. All my prayers were met with silence. God typically spoke with me by giving me peace about the situation, and I did have peace about her, but I wasn't going to make such a consequential decision based on peace alone. I needed something more tangible, something more supernatural, a dream. I will fast 3 days, 7 days, 21 days, just asking God for a dream. My sister Dinah had asked God for a sign and she got it. I didn't know why I couldn't get a dream. 4 years went by with no response. And yes, I considered ending the relationship at a point simply because I didn't want to waste her time any longer. Besides, I was willing to deal with my broken heart than a broken marriage. One afternoon in Brooklyn, while wrapping up medical school, I asked God for the 1,000th time, God, is she my wife or not? I barely completed the question and I heard a voice. It sounded like my own voice, except it was the way God has spoken to me in the past. She is your wife and you have to move quickly. What? She's my wife? Really? I called her right away and proposed on the phone. She was perplexed to say the least, but that was the easy part. Now I had to call my parents to inform them, and the first question that was going to come out was, what makes you sure she's your wife? A dream would have been straightforward, but now I had to explain this voice and peace. To be honest, I had doubts myself. Was I responding to my own prayers? There were days I wondered if I heard correctly. But regardless of my doubts, I obeyed the voice anyway. 8.5 years later, 4 amazing girls later, one incredible blessing after another incredible blessing later, I have no doubt that she is my wife and indeed the woman of my dreams. Dreams I never had. And yes, she's the best thing that ever happened to me. Today, you have probably heard God's voice on an issue. Perhaps you have had a dream or two, or you have peace about something, but you are not 100% sure. At the back of your mind, there are lingering questions, probably about a marriage, education, your next career move, or a relocation move. Others might be a business or a ministry idea. You feel God tugging on your heart about something, but you are not 100% sure. There's a cloud of uncertainty hovering over you, perhaps a cloud of anxiety of fear. The good news is, Jesus of all people was entangled in a similar situation. His pleadings and mournings hours before his death, he asked God a strange question. Father, if it is possible, take this cup away from me. Now, this is not the kind of Jesus you are familiar with. You know him as the man who walks on water and raises the dead. And now he is crying for God to rescue him from death. Incredible. But the questions and anxieties and perhaps the fear in that moment didn't stop Christ from taking the cross. He actually took the cross with all that anxiety on board. Every nail penetrated his hand, knowing the challenges the movement he came to start was going to face. But he did it anyway. The word that comes to mind is courage. Usually courage is perceived as acting in the absence of fear. But today Christ is reminding us courage is to act in spite of fear. Courage says, I know I am not 100% sure, but I will act anyway. I'm not 100% sure as to how things will play out, but I'll move anyway. No one might read the book that God is asking me to write, but I'll write anyway. No one might like or comment my social media post, but in courage, I will post anyway. You might be considering starting a relationship with God, and you have too many questions that are unanswered, but in courage, believe God anyway and leave the rest to him. You might be contemplating starting a new business. You are riddled with questions and fear. Hold on to what you know and encourage, trust God with the unknowns and jump anyway. It turns out that courage is an indispensable ingredient for an exponential life. Courage acknowledges that there will always be fear or questions, but courage trusts God that the unknowns of our lives and decisions will always play out in our favor. The writer of Hebrews describes courage in a stunning way. Because of the joy awaiting him, he endured the cross, disregarding its shame. Jesus Christ disregarded the shame of the cross. Jesus Christ didn't wait for the shame to wear off, neither was he oblivious to it. In fact, he was fully aware of the shame associated with a Messiah dying on the cross. But in courage, he disregarded the shame. This year, as you pursue exponential elevation in your life, the devil will look for multiple opportunities to remind you of your vulnerabilities, your uncertainties and anxieties. But the truth is, you must learn to disregard them and act in the presence of these fear and anxieties anyway. Acknowledge their existence, but just like Christ, disregard their impact and act anyway. Personally, here is what my marriage journey taught me about courage, which might help you right away. Courage is like the skydiver who loads up all his or her fear and anxiety into a backpack. And instead of waiting for the backpack to magically disappear, he or she straps it on and jumps anyway. Today, load up all your fear and anxiety on whatever subject God has laid on your heart, and then strap that fear on your back and trust in God, in courage, jump anyway. If I had dragged my feet a minute longer, I would have missed out on the opportunity to spend a lifetime with the most amazing person on earth. This morning, as you act in courage and disregard shame and weaknesses, God is assuring you that the exponential life will definitely come to pass. In courage, God will make up for the difference of your unknowns and your uncertainties. In courage, you will discover exponential move in your career. In courage, you will make financial and investment decisions that will catapult you. In courage, you can start a new relationship with God that will transform generations. And finally, in courage, you will find the spouse of your dreams and enjoy the marriage of your wildest imaginations. God richly bless you. My name is Dr. Sam Entry from the Grace Movement. Always a pleasure to reach you via this medium. Please feel free to share this devotional with as many people as possible, and you are welcome to share your impressions either on Facebook or on any social media platform. Would love to hear that. Also, if you have time on Friday, join us as we have another powerful session on Zoom. The link will be provided or is available on many platforms. As always, God richly bless you and have an excellent week. God bless you.